What's up, guys? Welcome to Faith Family Homestead. I'm Nehemiah. That's Anaya. And we're racing to build 2 beds, metal raised beds.
If you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen these beds in the back of my videos. I actually ended up ordering about 20 of them to complete all of the spaces in my garden to make new garden beds. These beds are 12 inches high, and my current beds were anywhere from 4 inches or lower, depending on the wood or if it was made with logs. And so definitely gonna have to backfill a bunch of space in the garden using these beds, but now they'll last a long time. I don't know about rust proof or anything like that because I just got these off Amazon, but they had really good reviews, and they're all 4 by 16 feet, and I'm going to be using 2 to stack up against each other to make 4 by 16 feet.
I won against my sister, but this camera is dying.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Faith Family Homestead. Anaya and I are about to head outside to the garden. I'm going to give you guys an update on what the garden is looking like. I shared that we were changing over some beds, so we changed over the beds against the fence, and then we're in the process of changing out the what is it called, the cross bed, as well as all of our log raised beds, and we'll go out there and I'll show you what I'm talking about. We have all of the beds set up, we just got to get them in place and the soil reconfigured and all of that stuff, and get new landscape fabric down. So we're going to be working in the garden for as long as possible today. Anaya's going to be helping me, so let's go, guys. So a little recap, all of my colorful metal beds are now on this side of the garden. That's not going to be there. That was us cleaning up the garden. Those beds, those white beds, are what we're replacing the beds along the fence with. And then this side is going to be, we do still have some along the fence, but instead of right there, you see I have my Greenstalks there. I have like seating area, I have my umbrella. And then we added this bed, and I shared with you guys, if you watched my last video, that this bed is going to be where I have my zucchinis and squashes. Right now we have the cover off because we're still filling this bed. These 2 beds are going to be where I have my onions. I don't know if I'll do both, but definitely they're empty with a purpose. And then now all of my beds are converted into the new design except for this bed, and it was because we had a bed at the end of there, so it couldn't go out. But now that that bed's moved, we can finally change over this bed. And let me show you the back. So we've already been working on this, but you can see this is the new design of the cross bed. We did take out all of the broken wood, and you can see how much space that it's actually going over, and we have to fill all of those empty places. And then this is what we're going to be working on today. We have all of the metal beds in place. These beds are 4 by 8, so each bed now is going to be 4 by 16. And it was just cheaper to go ahead and buy metal beds like this than trying to get the bricks and the wood and then cut it in half and all of the things. It was actually cheaper just to buy 2 4 by 8s off Amazon, stick them together. We'll see how they do together because it's my first time using them, but this is exactly how it's going to look. Right now it's not in place, so you can kind of see how it's a little bend right there, crooked, but today we're going to be working on sitting them all in place. So we basically have this one in place, but that's what's left of the logs. You can see how it's crumbly, so we have to work on getting all of this soil out of the pathways and into the beds and getting the beds laid down flat. So we have 2 per section, and like some beds are going to end up being shorter. So this is 16 feet, and we're still going to have like this much space that we're going to have to dig up and put a new landscape fabric right here. Same thing with these beds over here. This is the asparagus bed. And so yeah, this is what we're gonna be working on.
This particular day, it actually ended up being about 70 degrees. And so you'll see later I'll take off my sweatpants and sweatshirt. But it started out where I thought it was going to be cold. I'm so happy to now get these beds flattened and get it looking all great. It's definitely coming together for next spring where I have a new design layout, and I can't wait to show you guys what it's going to look like and to bring you guys along, because I've been working in this garden now for 3 years, and this past year I've grown the most amount of food that I've grown since being here. And so I think just having these beds and building them higher and all of that is going to be great for next season.
Okay, I want to show you where we are in the process. I'm sweating. It is 68 degrees in December. It's so crazy. So I'm really hot, but for the most part we got all of the beds leveled and grounded except for the asparagus bed. So let me turn you around and show you what I mean. So this was one of the beds that we had already done, so that was fine. I just straightened it out. And then we got these 6 beds. They're 6, but I'm counting them as 1. So these 3 beds leveled and all of the soil scraped out from the sides. So you can see, if I get closer, where the landscape fabric ends, because that's where how big the beds were. So on some spots the beds were wider than 4 feet, and then the beds were smaller than 4 feet, like this one where there's about that much of space on either side, probably 6 inches. Because when I first made these beds, I just used the logs that I had available because I didn't want to buy wood, and so some of the logs were shorter and I wasn't trying to cut them or anything like that. And so some of the beds were 4 feet, but when you lay them down on the ground it made it a little wider than 4 feet. And then some of the beds were like 2.5 to 3 feet, and so this is one of the beds that was probably, I want to say 3 feet. And now that I added the 4 feet beds, we'll have to backfill a lot. So again, this bed, you can see where it's wider, but we have it leveled, and it was wider at the back right here, which I want to say that's probably 8 inches. It's a really good space. And this is our asparagus bed, and I have not tried to level this bed right now because I've been working on this for a few hours and I'm actually really tired and I need to eat lunch. So that will be the last bed that I have to level and figure out, but that one's going to be a little different because since that one has asparagus rooted down really deep, maybe some of the spots I might have to work around. And so although I tried to make these beds as like straight as possible, there's definitely going to be some spots that the bed might be a little crooked because these were already existing beds and they weren't straight to begin with. So I'm just trying to work with what I have. And what we did try to do is go down and level down the sides. So I leveled down, that's like probably, I want to say 2 feet of space of landscape that we need to put there. And we just tried to scrape out and level all around the beds on this side. So this side is mostly completely done. Where this side, the only thing I've done is leveled out the beds. I didn't go around the bed, so you can see all of that soil that needs to be flattened and leveled, and this whole pathway needs to be scraped out. Same thing over here. And then, like I said, this will be the last bed that we have to work on, but I'm not going to do that right now. And then this bed was interesting because there's a slope right here. This is at the front of my driveway, and you can kind of tell underneath where it's not level with the ground. And so what I'm going to have to do is put some soil there to make it leveled and not slope, because one of the problems I had in this bed was I always struggled with keeping the soil moist, and that was because it sloped. And so anytime it rained or anything like that, or tried to water, it would just like wash away. So having this bed now be high off the ground and making it level is going to help with this situation so much better. But on the other side is that I have to actually now fill these beds. These beds are 12 inches, and when you think about it, my beds with the logs were probably at the most 4 inches off of the ground, so they're pretty much in-ground beds. And then now, as you can see, I have like a whole 12 inches to fill out. And so where logs could fit, I left the logs that were crumbly in some of the beds like I was showing you guys. But some of the logs that were still really, really big and had life in them, I just had my son put them all right here. I can put them, I have one more of those white metal beds that are 17 inches high and 8 feet long that I can put some of these at the bottom of it, and I'll go inside the hoop house and show you what I'm talking about. But for right now, I just needed them out of the pathway. But this is pretty much looking good. Looks so much different. It looks so much more uniformed. I'm really, really happy about it. Like I said, the only bed we have to worry about now is the asparagus bed. So this is what's going on in the hoop house. These two beds were from the garden, or they were in the garden or the orchard, and we moved them in here. So now I'm gonna have beds on both sides of the hoop house. And we just added this last bed, and this is where I was talking about I can take most of those logs that are shorter than 8 feet and stick them in here, because this is going to need lots and lots of soil, and we've already worked on filling these the same way if you watch my last video, with leaves and compost and worm castings and rabbit manure and all of the things. But this is the last bed in here that we'll have to work on. I'm not going to add a fourth bed on this side because I still need room for my shelving and stuff like that. And so at this moment, I don't think I'm going to add a fourth bed, but I'll have 7 beds in here of growing space this coming spring/summer. And I do need to, right now they have some brassicas growing in them, but the soil has dropped a lot. You can see specifically right there, there's like half of this bed that needs soil. And then I need another landscape rock delivery to fill in the rocks all the way down at the back. But little by little, the garden is coming into its full potential, and with everything that I want to get done for next spring and summer is I was gonna say surely, it is slowly coming to life. So standing up here and looking back at the used to be log raised beds, looks so clean and so nice now. Once we clear all of the pathways, I'm still debating on whether or not to put landscape rocks down. The thing that I struggle with is that, one, it's going to be super expensive. Two, the logs, I feel like the beds always get stuff into the pathways, and then I would hate for it to be on the rocks and then I can't sweep it up. Here, when stuff gets out of the beds, I just usually sweep it back into the beds eventually, but that's what I'm struggling with. You guys let me know what you think I should do. I've been going back and forth with it for quite a while. I think for like the past 2 years. I just want to bring you in closer and show you now what the new log raised bed area is looking like. So my cross bed is metal and the log beds are now metal. And it looks great. And just like that YouTube magic, all of those logs I was showing you is now in this bed, with the exception of one that I think the girl said was too long or something. But you can see how much space that took up. It took up basically how much space of soil that are in these beds that I have to backfill. But we'll fill those with soil or add some leaves in there, and we still have more of this compost from the pigs, from the chickens area, and so we'll add some of that in there as well, because you can see there's a big gap right there, some leaves, and then fill the top with straw.
We do have Aiden back at our home for the holidays, and I will be sure to update you guys. Maybe I can get him to sit down and do a little update video about him being gone for the past 3 months. But while he was here, I was so lucky to have him in the garden and ask him also to help me.
This has literally been an all-day process, but it's coming together nicely. We have most of all of the beds. The reason why I didn't put a 17-inch metal bed here is because this is a grapevine, and you can tell that's only 12 inches, and I knew that I wouldn't be able to, because the grapevine is growing on the outside of the fence, that I wouldn't be able to put a 17-inch bed here. So I got these special 12-inch beds to be round. So what I need to do with these is dig all around to make this as level as possible. And I don't really want to cover, like I can't cover that whole big spot of the grapevine, and I didn't want to dig it up. And so this bed will not be actually full, but I am going to dig around it and use the soil to put in one of these beds, which I just haven't yet, and then we'll landscape fabric this one. But I was able just to get this one leveled with, and you can see all of the soil, how much space we're getting back by having that bed there. Same thing, same reason with this grapevine. All of that is my winter peas, and so that weeds wouldn't grow. But I'm gonna have to dig all of this soil out around my grapevine here and then add it into this bed. I may add it on top, I may add it on the bottom, we'll see. And then I'll have all of that walking space back. I showed you guys in my last video how we did this bed, and this is literally the last bed in my garden that will have to get moved to the fence. The reason why I haven't yet is because you can see how thick that is. That's clematis. There's clematis here and there's sweet peas here, and I don't know what is what. And so I'm really gonna have to probably dig this out and contain it, and I just haven't had time. So this is gonna be a project for another day. But Aiden was able to get out all of the T-posts, because there's not going to be any like cattle panels going side by side over here. I am gonna have some hoops going over into the next bed. So I just needed them all to come out to have my new design layout. And when you look from this angle, and when I step back, you can kind of envision what's going to be going on over here. None of these will have any height, but I will at the beginning have probably a hoop from here going across. There's not going to be any, he took out the hoops out of the in-ground bed, which I've had cattle panel here for 3 years, so that's going to be different. The only thing that's staying over here is I'm keeping my peppers the same, and I'm keeping my tomato beds the same. These beds will be changing. I added that bed. This is basically what it's looking like now. We have officially spent the whole day inside of the garden, so thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's about 3 o'clock. We've definitely been out here longer than 5 hours fixing all of those beds. It's all worth it, because in the springtime, it's gonna look amazing out here. And I'm so excited to show you guys and for you guys to come along with me. So thank you guys if you guys made it to the end of the video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.